Okay, we left off. Forgot. This is what of Naruto was up. Minotaur Part 3. We left off where Naruto, hold on. Naruto, he said, or the military was coming. The military was coming to Naruto. And basically, when the military got there, Naruto, Izuku, my God, I'm saying Naruto for the longest. Izuku says, why are you here? And the general says, or the general that's leading that squad task or force says, we suspected strange activity, so we came to check it out. And look who we found. We found a new test subject. And Izuku says, I'll make you a deal. And the commander said, well, what's the deal? And Izuku said, if I let you go through my portal, will you promise not to come after me again? And they said, yes, but we get to take samples anytime we want. And Izuku says, yes, okay. Just don't touch any of the animals in there. I'm warning you. And after he says, don't touch any of the animals, the general says, what harm could small animals do? And he says, oh, they're not small, under his breath. But he talking about his pets. Talking about a few of them. Because the raven, I'm gonna just stop talking. So yeah, and then I'm gonna say an hour later, they went to get hazmat suits, and 2 hours later, and an hour later they came back, and basically they went inside, and really no human can survive in Izuku's his planet, or whatever you want to call it. No human can survive in there. Don't ask me why. It's just like that. So then they walk into the portal one at a time in like a single file line, and they all have they all got like rope attached to each other. One got rope attached to another one, so they won't get lost. So basically they go in there. And when they go in there, one of the people start coughing, and he says, I can't breathe. And a person starts patting him on his back, like beating his backhand, and he said, thanks. And basically that was the sign telling them that you can't breathe in here. So you might want to get out. So basically, they're just looking around. They get samples of dirt, mushrooms, plants, trees, tree branches. Then they see another portal, and Izuku walks into his portal, and they're like, go through that one, and Izuku says, if you go through that one, you will die instantly. So I suggest you not. And one of the men, the general says, okay. And one of the men doesn't listen to the general, because he thinks if he does this, he could get promoted. So he walks in there, and they just hear screaming from the other side, or like from like the portal. They just hear screaming, and Izuku says, I told you. And the general says, he points his gun at Izuku and says, what did you do? And Izuku says, I told him. I sat there and told him not to go into that portal, but he did anyway. And the general says, what is in that portal? And Izuku says, go take a look. And basically after he said, go take a look, he's like, I'll die. And he says, yeah, that's the point. And Izuku, he starts looking at his nails, and he says, "It really doesn't matter how long you're in here, you're gonna die anyway. My planet isn't built for humans. I really don't." And he says, I really don't know how those hazmat suits are holding up. As he says, if a hole were to get in them, man, that would be harsh. And Izuku, he like slices the air. And I forgot. Actually, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna introduce it this round. He slices like the air in all the hazmat suits. Basically, like get cut in it, and they trying to like, close the hole, but air's still coming in. So they all die, but the general laughs and he says, "You'll pay for this." And basically, they all die. And Izuku, he says, he yawns, he says, "Yeah, man." And he says, "Mira, are you here?" And she walks out of a house. And she says, "Yeah." And basically, she says, "What is this?" And he says, he like widens his eyes and says the prophecy is true. And she says, what do you mean prophecy? And Izuku says, there was once a prophecy where a woman would walk into my universe and she would have a senator or a minotaur body like you. And she said, and Izuku said, she says, so what does that mean? And he says, oh, you forever to be my loved one, basically. And he says, since you are this woman of prophecy, I have a lot of things to tell you. And she says, okay. And she like walk closer to Deku and sit down. And Izuku sit down, and he says, first thing first, he says, you can awaken your gladiator form. And she says, I don't know how to do that. And he says, yeah, if you practice your gladiator form, then it'll get stronger and stronger as you progress, and the stronger it gets, basically, the easier it is to turn on and off. And Izuku says, or she says, okay, is there anything else? And he says, yes. You see that portal that they all just went into and died? You have to go in there and get your sin. I'll be following with you, but I can only go with you at a certain point. And she says, okay. And she says, when are we going? He says, after I tell you the last sin, or my sin. He says, my sin is greed because I stole you away, and I like stealing things that I love. And basically, I only think about myself and the person that I love. And she says, oh, okay. And she started blushing. Yeah, she started blushing. And then she goes to she says, okay, and she walks through the portal with Izuku. I'm gonna say Izuku, he's in his human form, she's in her senator form. And he says, you might wanna like get into your human form before we reach the end of the portal. And then they reach the end of the portal and they walk through the other side. It's basically like a dimension, like a doorway or like a hallway. Yeah, you go through one portal, then you gotta walk through the hallway to get to the other portal. That's basically how it is. And basically they walk through that portal, and he says, we're here. As she like just not getting out of her minotaur form. And then he says, remember, I'm not gonna be there for you. But listen, he says you'll get You'll get pride first. Listen to every word he says. He's basically explaining your rules. And then after that, he can't say no more. He tries to tell her, but his mouth, it won't cooperate because you can't say anything about the legend. The sins have to say it. And it's the 7 deadly sins. Yeah. So basically, Naruto, he goes into Izuku, they start walking and he says, I must stop here. And he says, you see those seven chairs. You must go. He says, you see that 7 chairs on the table. Go to the table, roll the dice, and just further on, the prideful sin would be with you to tell you the instructions. And she says, okay. And she takes 2 more steps, and a wall comes up. A wall comes up behind Izuku. Or not behind, behind her, and in front of Izuku. And he says, as I thought. And she says, Izuku, where are you? And he says, don't worry about it, I'm fine. And she says, okay. As she starts walking, she gets nervous and she gets to the table. He says, just roll the dice. You won't be just roll the dice. You won't be cursed or anything. And she says that makes it even more scarier because he's saying that. And he says, maybe you will. And she says, Izuku, stop it. And he say, just roll the dice, Mira. And she says, okay. And she picks the dice up. She rolls it. It's 1 dice, by the way. Actually, no. Yeah, we're gonna say this dice is magical. And it just, whatever faith decides for you, that's what you'll get. So after she rolls, she gets pride. Then pride explains the rules. The rules, this Escanor, I think he's the prideful one. Escanor says, he says, I shall explain the rules to you. He says, you get 2 more rolls. If you disobey these rules, you'll die by sunshine of truth. And basically she says, okay. And he says there's 7 sins. Me, the prideful sin, the lustful sin, the sloth sin, the greed sin, the rat sin, and that's all I really know. And he says those are all the sins. He basically says all these sins. Hold on. He says all those: gluttony, envy, wrath, lust, pride, sloth, and greed. And basically, he says, now you may roll the dice, as his body disappears. And when his body disappeared, she says, where did you go? And he says, roll the dice. And she says, okay. And she rolls the dice. And she gets, I'm gonna say the first one she gets is lust. Yeah. Actually, no, the first one she gets is gluttony. And she says, I don't want that one. Without the gluttony saying even be able to talk. And she says, give me one good, please. And she rolls again. She gets lust, and she says, there we go. Basically, Bond pops out. I know he the sin of greed, but this one he gonna be the sin of lust, because his love for Elaine. Basically, Bond pops out, and he says, you must have chose my sin, huh? And then she says, yeah, I have. Bond says, wait, how are you even here? Only gods are able to come to this place. And she says, well, my boyfriend Izuku told me about this place, and he says, "Wait, Izuku, 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 right? The one with the green hair in the Minotaur form." And she says, "Yeah, what about him?" And he says, "Um, I don't understand how you still with him. He's a raging beast." And he says, Bond says, Bond says he's a raging beast, and she says, "What do you mean? He's not a beast. He's a kindful person, kindful and loving person." And Bond says, "What did you tell? What was his sin?" And he said his sin was greed. And Bond starts laughing, and he says he lied. He says he lied to you. His sin isn't gluttony. As he yawns, he says his sin is, let's see. Oh, there it is. Wrath. And she says, "Wrath? What do you mean?" And she says, "Yeah." Bond says, "Yeah, the sin of wrath." And she says, "What does wrath do?" And Bond says, "Well, it's basically in the name, wrath." And she says, "But that's not explaining enough." And Bond says, "Ugh. Basically, his sin is wrath. Wrath is power. All you want is power. You have darkness, and you have no emotion. The more emotion that person loses, the more, let's say, stronger that person becomes." And she says, "So does he have his emotion?" And Bond says, "Yes, he's trying on very hard to keep them together. But with all his power and wrathfulness, he could easily destroy the whole entire galaxies, all of them." And she says, "What?" And Bond says, "Yeah." And then Izuku says, she says, "Hey." Izuku says, "Are you still in there? Are you okay?" And she says, "Yeah, I'm fine, Izuku." And basically, she says, she looks back to Bond, and she says, "Bond, could you tell me more about Izuku's past?" Because whenever I try to ask him about it, he always try to bring up a new question. And he says, "Yeah, this is going to be a good one." And he says, "Just to tell you that he wasn't the same person he was in his past than he is now." And she says, "What do you mean?" And he says exactly how I said it. He was a sinful, wrathful demon roaming, killing all villagers, killing everyone that got in his way. Psychopath." And he said they had no game. Well, he says they had no they had no they had no what? He says he had no emotion. But when he found you, everything changed. And he says, "Just don't shoot on him like the last one, okay?" She says, "What do you mean? You mean Uraka?" And Bond laughs and says, "No, I don't even know who that is." As he says, her name was Melanie. And then she says, She says, okay, okay. Um, so, so how did Izuku lose his emotion? And why did she cheat? And he says, Bond says, do you ever listen to any what I'm saying? And she says, yeah, I do. And Bond says, cause he says, cause, he says, oh my, Bond says this. He says, have you not been listening? I just said that he was yeah. And basically, let me get up. Basically, Naruto, I'm Izuku. Izuku says, hey, um, he says, hey, Mira, are you almost done? And she says, yeah, I just need to ask a couple more questions. And he says, okay, that's, and that Bond says, he says, that's so fake. She says, huh, what do you mean? He says, kid, you don't see it? And she says, what do you mean? He says, he says, um, she says, so she says, so how is he faking it, faking? She says, so how is he faking it? And Bond says, you don't see it, do you? And he says, your eyes blind. And basically, what Bond sees is a monster behind, like he's human, but his shadow is a monster. Like, that makes sense. How, yeah, yeah. Sorry. And then after that, we see, we see, um, we see here, high, they got a mirror. He sees Mirror, um, Bond. Mirror says, I have to ask just a few more questions. And, Izuku said, Mirror, you okay in there? You're sounding a little quiet. And she says, yeah, I'm okay, Izuku. And yeah, she start going, she start, she looked back at Bond and she says, what does his gladiator form look like? And these, and yeah, and Bond says, well, his what's it called? Oh my god. he says his he says his yeah. Yes. Huh. Sorry. And yeah, basically, so Izuku, he's like, "Come on, Rose." As his wrath is taking over. I really don't know why I left off, so I'm just done from here. His wrath starts taking over, and she says, "I'm coming, Izuku. Just wait." And he breaks the wall, and Bond says, "You know, if you come any further, right, you'll die." And he says, "You know, if you come any further, you'll die." And he says, "Nothing can kill me. Nothing can kill me." And he says, "You know, I'm immortal." And Bond says, "Yeah, me too." And and so basically Bond, after he says I'm immortal, Izuku, he walks a step closer, and there's like a barrier, like a outline, because it can only be one person in there at one time, and that's basically like breaking the rules that they had made. And if you break the rules, you'll die. And Izuku, he falls to his knees, and she says, Mira says, "Izuku," and she starts running over there to save him, or like to help him up. And Bond holds her back and says, "He might not even recognize you. You might want to stay back." And she says, "No, I promise." She says, "No, he will, he will, he will." And and Bond says, "All right, don't come running to me when you're about to die." And he lets her go. And Elaine, nah, I ain't gonna do that. And she goes to Izuku, and she says, "Izuku, are you okay?" And he says, "Get off of me." And then he gets up. I'm gonna say he gets up with one eye white and the other eye black, like pitch black. If you just look into it, all you see is darkness and despair. And so yeah. And he says, "Get off of me." And she says, "Isuku, look at me." And she got his face, and she got his face and kissed him. And she says, "Do you remember that, Izuku, huh?" And Izuku says, "I'll give you one more chance to get off of me, and or I'll kill you." Basically, his wrath is taking over. Sometimes he can control his wrath, but most of the time he can't. Yeah. And then she says, "But Izuku, remember how you told me that I was a prophecy woman, and um how we were supposed to be together forever and ever until the end of time?" And Mon says, or Izuku says, he says, I remember. As he stands up with his eyes getting lighter, and she kisses him again, and says, Izuku, let's just take me home, okay? And Izuku passes out. He gained his consciousness back. He passed out. And then basically after he passed out, we see, what's her name? We see Mira. She's like, no, all I have to do is get him to that portal. And she gets the senator form, picks Izuku up, and she just took him to the portal, walked through, and Bomber's like, that kid's gonna destroy the world one day. Oh well, can't kill me, I'm immortal. So is the captain. He says, before all those other fellow weaklings, looks like they'll die. And basically, we see her just got done from dragging him in the end of the hallway. Remember I said the portal thing? Yeah. And she goes to the other side. And Bond says, or no, she goes to the other side. And after she goes to the other side, she says, Izuku, where are you? Well, she says, Izuku, wake up. And I want to say she tells him down. She keeps saying, Izuku, wake up. Basically, Izuku, he, I want to say his body started moving and started reacting to the dark use of power that he was using. He haven't used it in a minute. And since he been fighting it, and he hasn't been using it in a minute, it's stronger. And she says, Izuku, you have to listen to me. And he says, you have to listen to, she says, gotta listen to me, Izuku. Just listen to my voice. And basically his body's getting engulfed in, like, you know how Meliodas stuff was? Darkness? Yeah. His body was just getting engulfed in darkness. And he says, Izuku says, and she says, Izuku, what did you say? And he says, get away from me. As he blows her through the wall. And she stands up and she says, Izuku, you have to fight the darkness. And he says, and his eyes turn blue for like 2 seconds. And she says, or he says, his eyes turn blue. Wait, what color is, I think his eyes are green. His eyes turn green for like 10 seconds. And she goes up and hugs him. And he says, sorry. And he turns back to that dark monster. Then he just walks. Instead of saying, may you please, to the pets, he demands. And they haven't seen his power in a minute. They're like, oh no, Master has did it again. And she says, Izuku, where are you going? And Izuku says he says to have a little fun. And he says to have a little fun. I haven't been out in millions of years. And he says, but first, he makes like a border, not like a border, but it's like a force field. He makes a force field around Shia, or not Shia, Mira. And when he makes this force field, basically nobody can touch it but him. And he says that'll work. And when I say, she says, what do you do? Cause she feel like a tingle in her spine. She says, what do you do? And he says, you'll find out soon enough. And basically, she says, well, if you're gonna leave, at least let me come with you. And he says, Izuku says, no, you'll just be in the way. You're always in the way. Every single time that I'm about to kill someone, you always beg me not to. Which I really don't understand. Because they cause so much pain to you. You won't let me kill them. As he sighs, and he says, let's just say I'm finna pay a little visit to a special someone. And she says, who is it? And he says, let's just say it's a little girl who I've been searching for, or who I've been wondering and looking for a couple million years. She was part of my prophecies, the prophecy too. But it says she won't come out until you awakened your minator form or whatever. He said, now I have to go get her and bring her back here. He says, I hate this. Might as well destroy that planet. So I never have to go back. And basically she basically says, Naruto, wait, and he walks to the portal. Just always telling me to wait. And basically, he goes back to Earth, and he just like he start from a certain point, then he just started thumbing through Earth, trying to find the little girl, looking at everybody in the world, like I mean all 50 billion people, how many people we always got in this world. He just looking at them, and he says, so not it, ding, as the check gets into his mind, and or like a thing in his mind telling her where he's at, because she just used her power. And he zooms over there, and he sees she's like 4 years old, and he sees like 30. He sees like three 10-year-olds finna gang up on her and beat her up. And he says, I wouldn't do that if I were you, little boy. And one of these people, one of them have a quirk where they can freeze you. And one of them have a quirk, manipulating quirk, blood manipulation. And the other one has telekinesis, super strong telekinesis. And he says, your quirks are quite strong, but you use them for no good. And he says that's unacceptable. As he dips, or he basically to get him. He's doing match for the great trio, and basically the person he manipulates his bones. He manipulates Izuku's bones. Then the person with the telekinesis quirk, he gets some rock from underground, and he bring it He brings it up, and he said, or he didn't say anything. He's like, this should be enough. And basically after he said this should be enough, really, I want to say, I'm not gonna do that. The kid says that Naruto or Izuku said, that's not enough to hold me back, little boy. And he flicked. I just broke his legs. He just started walking towards them. And they get scared. And they say, stay back. I won't hesitate to kill you. And Izuku laughs and says, as if a petty little weakling like you can kill me. And he says, Dude says, I am one of the big trio. You won't stand a chance. And he says, oh, okay. If I want to stand a chance, then I'll make you a deal. If you can land a scratch on me, he says, if you can land a scratch on me, then let's see, I'll let you keep the girl. Do whatever you want to, I really don't care. But if I win, I get to kill you all and your family. And everybody's like, this is a risky decision. And he says, one of the people says, I forgot what I gave the first dude, so I'm gonna just give him, I think it was mind control. He says, he's just an old geezer, get him. And basically, after he says this, they blitz. One person rushes Naruto and breaks his legs with the manipulating cord. And after he breaks his leg with the manipulating cord, Izuku, he heals instantly. And they say, got him! As one dude tries to uppercut him with the rock, and it didn't hurt Izuku, but it hit him. And it just stopped at his jaw. Like I said, his skin is made out of titanium or whatever I said it was made out of. And then he was like, listen, what? They say, what? How do you do that? And he kills all three of them. He says, girl, you're a part of a prophecy that was made true a couple years ago. And she said, what do you mean? And why did you save me? And he said, simple, I need you. He says, what do you need? He says, what do you need me for? Are you gonna use me and beat me? And he says, no. As she says, you look super scary, as he in his dark one. And he says, oh dear. And she says, yeah. How could I even trust you? And he says, that's you gonna be on your own accord. But you trust me not. And Izuku, she having like doubts, but she trusts him. And she says, okay. As he says thank you, basically Izuku, he grabbed her hand and said, come on. And she said, ouch, that hurts. And he says, yeah, everything hurts in life, even love. And she's like, oh wow. Hit me with the facts. And basically, Izuku, he says, no. He flies up to the sky, and she says, what are you doing? We're gonna die. He says, no, we won't die. And as she says that, they get into space, and she can't breathe. She says, I can't breathe. She like, gasp for air. And Izuku said, oh yeah, I forgot. Humans. Or at least for now, you. And he goes to a different universe or a galaxy. Basically, after he goes to that reality, he says, you might like it, but there's a way for you to breathe for a couple of seconds. And she says, oh, okay. And basically, Izuku, he says, now listen here and listen careful. He says, listen here and listen carefully. I'm gonna adopt you. Me and my girlfriend at my house. We're my planet. And he says, and this is Avery, right, by the way. He says, if you disobey any of my rules, you will be punished. And this is the demon, Izuku talking. And he says, you'll be trained every day to try to defeat me. And she says, why are you going to adopt me? You're going to use me as a weapon. That's why you want me to train, huh? And he says, maybe not. But like I said, you trusted me, so you have to deal with the consequences of trusting me. And she says, oh, okay. And basically, Izuku basically says, now. He says, now. As he opens a portal. Because the regular Izuku, he was strong enough to open a portal, but it just took a lot of his energy. But this Izuku, he, basically what happened is this Izuku, he's strong enough to open the portal, and it would just take like, 0.00000. Nah, I'm playing. It'll take like 1% of his, 0.5% of his power or energy away. And he says, now go in, you brat. And she says, I'm not a brat, and don't call me that. He says, you have a smart mouth for a little girl. And she says, I don't care. And basically says, Izuku says, looks like you got some traits from your mother. And she says, what do you mean my mother? You know my mother? And Izuku, he knows everybody. Like, he knew, let me see, who did he know? I'm not gonna watch that. He knew knew like people from BCs and ACs and stuff like that. He says, yes, I'm very, very, very old. And he says, you're a creep. You know that, right? And he chuckles and says, yeah, whatever, kid. And she walks through the portal. And when she walks through, basically, what's her name? Mira says, "Oh my God, you're so cute," and picks her up and says, "Why are you here?" And she says, "Put me down." No, she doesn't say put me down. She says, "Well, there was someone named, I don't know his name, but looked like he was in all black, darkness, something, and he said that me and my girlfriend back at my house wanted to adopt me or something." And basically she says, really? And Izuku walks through and says, "Come here. Don't forget about what I said." And basically Dark Izuku, he's basically, she says, Mira says, "What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do to her?" And he says, "I'm gonna train her to get stronger than me." And Mira says, "Izuku," or she says, "Izuku, you know that's almost impossible. You're strongest being on this earth." And he says, "I know. I just want to see if this mere child or weakling can surpass me." And Mira says she's not a weakling. And don't say it like that. She's not just a mere child. She's our child. You adopted her, remember?" And he says, "Yes." And he says, "What is your name, little girl?" She says, "My name is Eri." And he says, and she says, "So your name must be Izuku." And he says, "Yeah." He says, "Yeah, that's what you heard, isn't it?" And she says, "Rude." She says, "You're rude." And Izuku says, "I don't care." And Mira says, "Izuku." She says, "I'm sorry, Eri, for your dad's behavior, but he wasn't like this at first. He was a nice, caring person, and when he was a nice, caring person, he was always generous, and he loved to help and be kind to everyone. But he also willed immense power. With this form of your dad, he's 10 times stronger than your nice dad." But she says, "Even if he's 10 times stronger, I prefer your nice dad more." And she says, what do you mean, nice dad?" And she says, "We all get sins. And he got wrath. He couldn't change his sin. So after he got this wrath, the first 1,000,000 years, he tried to control the power, but couldn't. He just started going to universes, destroying and wiping them from existence." And basically, after she says that, Izuku says, "Really?" I mean, Eri says, "Really?" And Mira says, "Yeah. Someone told me that he usually, well, to me, he lied about his sin because he didn't want me to leave, I guess. Or I really don't know why he lied about it." And Mira says, just to let you know, there is there is a nice side to him. He just needs help. He just needs help getting rid of that dark form of his. And she says, "My dad has some nice side." And she says, "Well, he is pretty nice right now." And she says, "No, he can be very, very nice. He cares for everything on his planet." And then we get back to Izuku. She's telling them about more how they met and stuff like that, basically, and how they got together and stuff. Yeah. We get back to Izuku, and he says, "Siberius, come here." Well, he says, "Siberius, here now." And Siberius walks over to Izuku, and he says, "You guard my daughter. If anything's happened to her, you shall die. If she dies, you shall die right along with her. Okay, Siberius?" And Siberius says, "Yes, master." As he's like, "I want the," he's like, "I want the old Izuku back." And Nine tells he goes to not Izuku, and he says, he says, "No disrespect, master, but don't you think you should take it less lightly?" And he says, he glances at Kurama, and he says, "Kurama, was that a threat?" And Kurama says, "What? No, it wasn't a threat. All I was saying," and Izuku, he like dashes or body flickers in front of Kurama, and he says, "It wasn't a threat." And Kurama says no, and he says he's about to talk, and he says, "Did I give you permission to speak?" And Kurama says, "No, master." He walks away, and he says, "It's a stupid mud of a fox." And basically, he goes inside his house, and she just got done telling him how they met and stuff like that. She says, well, I'll build you a house." She says, "No, just ask Dad to do it." And she says, he probably won't want to build you one. He says he probably doesn't want to add onto this one either. And he she creates a crib, but it's not that big. It's like it got a little mini kitchen, everything that a toddler and stuff need. And then Izuku, he's laying down, and then Mira pops out. Says, "There you go. Hope you like it." And as she says that, basically, she says, "I love it, mommy." And she says, "Thank you." And she says, "Oh, we're gonna sleep now. Make sure you get plenty of rest." And Eri says, "Okay, mommy," and goes to bed. She goes inside the crib and go to bed. And Izuku, he says, "If y'all wondering why Eri not dying, she's part of the prophecy. That's why." And Mira goes into she goes into I'm gonna say she goes into the crib, and she walks into the shower, and she still sees Dr. Izuku, and she says, that's not the person that I love." like she whispered it under her breath. And she said, that's not the person that I love. I love the real Izuku. I don't want that demon. And basically, I'm gonna say, she hear the dark Izuku start screaming, and he fall down. And he says, stop trying to fight back, you idiot. And Izuku, he says, so when I get you, I'll learn to control this power. And basically, Izuku, she's the dark Izuku, the like Wrath Izuku, he starts screaming, and she runs in there, but she like opens the curtains, and she sees the light Izuku, and he says, "Oh, hi, man," and she just hugs him, and he says, "I'm kind of busy right now," and she says, "You, you're here." He says, "Yeah, I've always been here," and she says, "What do you mean always been here?" And he says, I was just with the Dark Naruto, just held back deep inside of him, no homo. And and basically, I mean the Dark Izuku, I was just deep inside of him, in his core, no homo. And basically, she says, this shit, can we just stay here for a little bit? And he says, sure. As she says, good. And I'm gonna say, she kissed Izuku. Like they start like tongue kissing, like, you know, people be doing that, yeah. And basically they do that, and basically now I gonna do that. Then I wonder, if you think about it, Izuku, he really a pedophile. He like millions of years old, and she's 16, 20. So is Meliodas, 3,000 years old, messing with a what? Messing with a what? Let me see. Talking about some. This is my woman. Back off, man. You gonna put that baby down? Sorry, let me get back on topic. And Izuku, he says, "Oh, I miss this feeling." She says, "Me too." And she says, "Izuku, promise me you'll never do that again." He says, "Okay, I'll try my hardest." And basically, he says, "Now get out, I'll take a shower." And she says, "No, I haven't been able to enjoy one with you in such a long time. I'll be taking one with you too." Nizuku says, "Oh no, oh no, oh no, 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 no." And basically, he's like, "Ooh, minute, hour." He's like, "Okay." I'ma say, she says, "I'll be back." She don't even work at the restroom, bro. Or she only walk at the bathroom. Step out the curtain. She like open the curtains, goes, take off her clothes, pop back in there, and Izuku says, "That was fast." And she says, "Yeah, I really didn't need to do anything." I forgot where we left off at because I was watching TikToks. So I'm gonna say I think we left off where Izuku has a good step back. Yeah. then they took a shower together, and yeah, definitely. So yeah, basically, they go to sleep. I mean, I'm not saying, but I'll tell you that he like, well, Mira is like cuddling him like so much that he can't even breathe. And he's about to say something about it, and and she says, Naruto, please, I haven't seen. She says, bro. She says, Izuku, please. I haven't seen this out of you in such a long time. And basically, he says, okay. And he still remembers his daughter too. So basically, he go to sleep, wake up to her still cuddling him. He tries to move, and she says, no, just give it up one more hour, please. And he says, I'm gonna say, he says, if you, he says, baby, if you stop cuddling me, I might give you something special. And she starts cuddling him and says, what is it? And he gives her a kiss, and she says, it's not fair. And he says, oh. She says, have you gone down to my kisses now? Now that I haven't been here in such a long time. And she says, she says, no. And she kisses her again and says, sorry if you heard that. Kisses her again and says, seem like it. And basically, then he kisses her again. And basically he walks outside and he sees Eri training. He sees Eri training. And he says, hi there. And she says, oh, it's you. And he says, why you have to, he says, if you couldn't hear me, I said, Eri said, oh, it's you. And Izuku said, why do you have to be rude to your dad like that? That's very, very, disrespectful. He said, that's very disrespectful, Eri. You don't talk to your parent like, your guardian like that. And she says, why are you so nice all of a sudden? And he says, well, I have fought off my sin. I have fought off the wrath inside of me, and now I'm back. And he smiles, and he says, what do you want to do today? And she says, train. And he says, oh, come on, we can do something. He says, come on, I can take you to Earth. We can do something way funner than that. Or I can take you to any planet. And she says, any planet? And he says, yeah. And basically, she says, I want you to take me to the Milky Way. And I want to see it. That's been my dream ever since. She says, that's been my dream. And he says, okay. He says, hold on tight. And he picks her up. And he goes to the moon. He's flying. He's like floating. Not flying. He is flying, actually, yeah. Or no, I'm gonna say he whips out his wings. Yeah. But he sorry if you hear that in the background. I'm just here. So, and then he says, he goes into his senator form, and he whips out his wings and he starts flying. And she says, cool, do I have a form like that? And he says, probably, but you'll probably have to unlock it when you get older. She says, oh man. And he says, but there's a Milky Way. She turns around and she sees it and she's like, oh, it's so cool. And she says, I want to touch it. And he says, no, you probably messed something up in the universe if you touch it. But I'll put it back in place. And he says, really? And he says, yeah. So he, I'm gonna say, he says, and while you're over there, I'm gonna take a picture of you to show it to your mom. And she says, okay. And she's over there, and she touches the Milky Way. And basically, he takes a picture. He takes a picture of her touching the Milky Way. And she said, she was like, oh my God, it doesn't feel like anything. And he says, well, yeah, it's mostly, I really don't know what the Milky Way is made out of. I'm gonna say, she says she doesn't feel anything. And Izuku says, that's because you're not touching the main point. And he says, touch right there. It's like she touches a white spot and she feels like a star. And she says, can I pick it up? Can I pick it up? And he says, no, if you pick it up, you'll probably kill yourself. He says, you'll probably kill yourself. And she says, oh, okay. And she says, well, we can go back home now. And they pop back to the crib. And we're gonna say that after they pop back to the crib, Izuku, he says, I wanna say, she's missing Izuku. So she just pacing around like, Izuku, where are you? Please didn't turn evil again. And he pops back out and she says, Izuku. And she runs and hugs him. And he says, okay. And she says, hug me back. He hugs her back. I'm gonna say, after he hugs, or after she hugs him, after he hugs her back, basically, Izuku, he said, you know I'm not gonna, leave again, right? And she said, but what if you do? I want to make the best times while we can. And Izuku says, okay. And she says, no, I'm being so serious. She says, I'm gonna say she grips his hand. Well, she like takes his hand, and she says, I'm being serious, Izuku. And she says, I wanna do it now. And Eri says, mommy, do what? Can I do it with you guys? And Izuku says, do what? He knows what she's talking about. And then he says, do what, Mira? And she says, you know what I want. And she says, she looks at Aaron. She says, honey, you can go to your house really fast. Me and Dad are gonna have a grown-up talk. And I'm gonna just say, after they said they have a grown-up talk, she gets to the crib, Izuku walks her, and so does Mira. Open the door, fix something to eat. Keep occupied. That's basically what they're trying to do. And Izuku says, don't know about you. I know about us. Well, hang on me. And then he says, open my eyes. It was only just a dream. No, I'm playing. And he says, toss it, punk, ugly boy. If you love me. No, I'm playing. Izuku says, why? He says, you want to do it now? And she says, yeah, it's going to be my first time. But I don't know about you. And he says, yeah, it's going to be my first time too. And he says, but what about the girl before me? And he says, no. I never really trusted her, so we never did it. Let's just say that. And she says, oh, okay. And basically, I'm not gonna make this one as sexual, because I just want to keep moving forward on the story, because this is gonna be a good story. I can feel it. And I'm probably gonna like 2 more parts to this. Yeah. And basically, and y'all know, should I keep? Y'all know, basically, every ending part is gonna be below. It's either gonna be 45 minutes or below. Cause probably my ideas, they just blank. And yeah, that's what happened on the endings. So basically, I'm gonna say, she take off her shirt and we already know that they seen each other naked before. Cut to like the shower. Yeah, we already know all that. So I'm gonna just say, she hurry up and take her shirt off and stuff. Izuku do the same. He grabbing her waist, kissing her and stuff like that. And I'm really trying to get this episode over with. Trying to go to sleep. School in the morning. So basically, Izuku, he's like grabbing her waist, grabbing her thighs and stuff like that. And then he lays her in the bed, and he nah. I'm just getting it over. He lays her in the bed, lays her on the bed. He slides it in, and then basically, she says it hurts, and he says, "Do you want to take it out?" And she says, "No, keep going." And like I'm gonna say, 10 minutes in, it doesn't hurt anymore. And basically, instead of the pain, she basically feels pleasure, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna say she basically just feels good. And Izuku feels good too, no homo. And he says that he's about to ejaculate. And she says, do it inside. And Izuku, he's like, he hesitates. He says, should I do it? I ain't trying to have no more kids. Or I could have some more kids. Then I'll have 2 kids. That'd be super powerful. Probably stronger than me. Then he's just thinking while he's like going back and forth. He just does it. He ejaculates. And then he like, ugh. Then I'm gonna say, he lays down beside her. And yeah. And she says that was good. Yes, sir. And then 2 minutes later, after they just cuddling, what's her name? Avery knock on the door. And she says, "Hey, Mom, Dad, are you two still having your talk?" And not Izuku says, well, yeah. Sorry it's taking us so long. And she says, "No, it's fine. I'll just go back to my house." And he says, "Okay, we'll come get you when we're done talking." Basically, they sit there, they cuddle for like 2 hours. And Izuku says, "We need to take showers and wash these sheets." And she says, "Okay." So basically, they just take a shower. Then she's worried about them. So when she's worried about them, basically he says, she knocks on the door again. She says, "Mom, Dad, I'm coming in." And Ezekiel yells from the shower. Or no, Miri yells from the shower. "No, I'm taking the shower. Don't come in." And she says, "Well, I'm your daughter, right?" And she says, "Yeah, it's fine." And she forgot that Izuku was in the shower. Like, and Izuku like, He taps her shoulders and says, "Did you forget I was in here?" And she like, "Oh." And basically, she walks. She walks into the restroom and she sees Izuku and Mira in the shower together, and she says, "Ew, you guys are disgusting, taking showers together." And Izuku says, "Well, that's what you do. That's what you do to the person that you love, and you also do everything. You also do everything else and more stuff." And she said, "Well, could you tell me about it?" And Izuku looked at Mira and says, "No, no, that's for when you get older." And she says, "Oh, okay." And she says, "Well, I'll be sitting on the bed." And what's her name? Mira says, "No, no, don't sit on the bed. We have to clean the bed." And she says, "Why?" She says, she looks at Izuku and she says, "Because someone spit on it." And she said, "Ew." And she was saying she's really not thinking, so she just creates a couch. And Izuku says, he says, "You've already got your power getting awakened." And she says, "What do you mean awakened?" And he said that he has the same power, but hers came at a young age, which is pretty nice. She gets like a one-seater. And yeah, and basically they get at the shower, change in the restroom. After they change, then basically they have family time, sit there, they watch a movie, and after they get done watching oh no, I'm gonna say they watching Grown Ups. Actually no, they watching Let It Go, Let It Go, and a horse sing anymore. Let it go. Nah. What should they do? Hold on, I'm gonna come back. Oh no, never mind. They watching Good Burger. Oh, they watching is I think yeah, Good Burger. Watching Good Burger, and she laughs at Ed because she thinks he's super stupid. And then time skip like an hour and 15 minutes. They get to the end of the movie, and she find out Ed is like super smart. And she says, "Oh wow, I didn't." She says, "Hold on." She says, "Oh wow, Dad, how do you become a complete moron to a complete genius?" And and basically what's her name? Mira says, Izuku says, "Well, honey, he just has no. He has no. I really don't know what it's called, but like if somebody say, um, you better watch your. You know how that Nick said you better watch your butt. Ed and Ed, he just like start watching his butt. They have none of that. We know how Einstein didn't have it. Yeah, basically that's it. He says he's a genius, but he just didn't have whatever Albert Einstein did have. And she says, "Oh," and Mira says, "Well, it's time to go to sleep. It's time to go to sleep, Eri." And she says, "But I want to stay for one more movie." And Izuku says, "Okay." And Mira says, "Izuku, we have to treat her right, and we need to get her to bed to keep her health up." And Izuku says, "One more movie." And Mira says, "No, she's going to bed." And Mira says, "Please, mommy." And she is so hard, but she says, "I'm so sorry, but no, you have to go to bed." And she says, "Oh, can I leave, go to sleep in here with you guys?" And Izuku and Mira looked at each other and says, "I guess, why not?" And they did wash the sheets. Okay? They lay down. And after they lay down, let you go to sleep. And then they sleep. We see a crack in time. and three figures. No, one figure appears. He's no. Oh, I got y'all. One figure appears, and y'all got to find out next episode who the figure is.